All right, so I think good afternoon wherever you're watching us from. Thanks a lot of you having joined. We'll just go straight ahead and watch the video. By the time you are done watching the video, maybe a lot of people will join, and then we will start this officially. But welcome to another threat intelligence summit, and let's see. So I'll proceed and share my video.
As a journalist, you are supposed what is it? And if my problem with that, what is saying to me when I'm mad is my question. I feel like there's something there. What did you do to make that? There's nothing. I don't think she's mad at me.
Ninjio, Episode 611. First comes love, then comes security? Security topic, identity protection. Starring Andrew Lawrence as Mike. Cell service provider T-Mobile was recently hacked, resulting in the theft of personal information of 50 million customers. Incidents like these are becoming increasingly common, making it more and more likely each of us had or will have our data stolen. Knowing how to protect your identity can help mitigate the damage. Exterior, Brooklyn Bridge, night. Mike guides his blindfolded girlfriend.
Mikey, how much further? Where are you taking me?
Okay, this is the spot. Here goes.
Mike removes the blindfold.
It's beautiful.
Mike gets on one knee.
What on earth?
Cynthia, will you marry me?
Close up on a ring with a tiny diamond.
Aw, it's so...
Delicate. That's how I like to describe it. Here, use this.
Cynthia uses a magnifying glass.
Oh yeah, there's the diamond. It's pretty.
Oh, who am I kidding? It's not pretty or delicate. It's pathetic. I tried getting you a better one, but I couldn't because my credit's been wrecked. Which makes 0 sense because I always pay my bills.
Maybe you had your credentials stolen as part of a data breach. It's pretty much a given everyone on the planet with access to a computer has had their credentials and identity stolen by now. Here, let me show you.
Cynthia shows a compromised credentials website on her phone.
Punch in your email address to this compromised credential site to find out if you've been hacked.
What in the world? Those are my passwords!
And your credentials come up for not just one site, but multiple. Because you've been recycling your passwords.
How did this happen?
Take the Horizon Wireless hack, for example. 50 million customers had their data stolen, and that's just one hack. Think of all the massive data breaches that occur on pretty much a daily basis.
So everyone should just assume their login credentials have been stolen by hackers?
I'm afraid so. And it's highly likely criminals purchased your information off the dark web and used it to steal your identity. They probably opened loans in your name, then defaulted on them, ruining your credit.
So what should I do?
Subscribe to a compromised credentials feed so you'll know to immediately change your password if a website you use has been breached. Some passphrase management tools have this feature called dark web monitoring built in.
Okay. Anything else?
No more recycling passwords across multiple accounts. When a website gets compromised, hackers use a technique called credential stuffing, where they plug in stolen credentials across hundreds of common sites. It's an automated process, and it's usually very successful for the hackers because so many people recycle passwords.
I should probably also review my credit report, looking for suspicious activity that would indicate a fraudulent loan.
Definitely. In fact, start doing it monthly and turn on credit monitoring alerts. Take immediate action if you find any unauthorized new accounts. You can also initiate a credit freeze at any time as additional protection.
See? This is why I want to marry you. You're simply the smartest woman on the planet. But don't give me an answer just yet. Not until I fix my credit and can buy you a diamond that's worthy of your hand, okay?
Yes.
Good.
No, I mean, yes.
Wait, you mean yes? As in, yes, yes?
Yes!
Woohoo! You hear that, everybody? She said yes!
Teachable takeaways. The massive number of personal records stolen in various data breaches makes it highly likely your personal data is out there on the dark web for criminals to purchase. Taking action to proactively and reactively protect yourself against identity theft is crucial to mitigating any damage. Turning on monthly credit alerts can help notify you of fraudulent activity involving your personal information.
Okay, so let me play the video one more time and then we will continue. Okay.
Ningio, Episode 611. First comes love, then comes security? Security topic, identity protection, starring Andrew Lawrence as Mike. Cell service provider T-Mobile was recently hacked, resulting in the theft of personal information of 50 million customers. Incidents like these are becoming increasingly common, making it more and more likely each of us had or will have our data stolen. Knowing how to protect your identity can help mitigate the damage. Exterior, Brooklyn Bridge, night. Mike guides his blindfolded girlfriend.
Mikey, how much further? Where are you taking me?
Okay, this is the spot. Here goes...
Mike removes the blindfold.
It's beautiful.
Mike gets on one knee.
What on earth?
Cynthia, will you marry me?
Close up on a ring with a tiny diamond.
Aw, it's so...
Delicate. That's how I like to describe it. Here, use this.
Cynthia uses a magnifying glass.
Oh yeah, there's the diamond. It's pretty.
Oh, who am I kidding? It's not pretty or delicate. It's pathetic. I tried getting you a better one, but I couldn't because my credit's been wrecked. Which makes 0 sense because I always pay my bills.
Maybe you had your credentials stolen as part of a data breach. It's pretty much a given everyone on the planet with access to a computer has had their credentials and identity stolen by now. Here, let me show you.
Cynthia shows a compromised credentials website on her phone.
Punch in your email address to this compromised credential site to find out if you've been hacked.
What in the world? Those are my passwords!
And your credentials come up for not just one site, but multiple. Because you've been recycling your passwords.
How did this happen?
Take the Horizon Wireless hack, for example. 50 million customers had their data stolen, and that's just one hack. Think of all the massive data breaches that occur on pretty much a daily basis.
So everyone should just assume their login credentials have been stolen by hackers?
I'm afraid so. And it's highly likely criminals purchased your information off the dark web and used it to steal your identity. They probably opened loans in your name, then defaulted on them, ruining your credit.
So what should I do?
Subscribe to a compromised credentials feed so you'll know to immediately change your password if a website you use has been breached. Some passphrase management tools have this feature called dark web monitoring built in.
Okay. Anything else?
No more recycling passwords across multiple accounts. When a website gets compromised, hackers use a technique called credential stuffing, where they plug in stolen credentials across hundreds of common sites. It's an automated process, and it's usually very successful for the hackers because so many people recycle passwords.
I should probably also review my credit report, looking for suspicious activity that would indicate a fraudulent loan.
Definitely. In fact, start doing it monthly and turn on credit monitoring alerts. Take immediate action if you find any unauthorized new accounts. You can also initiate a credit freeze at any time as additional protection.
See? This is why I want to marry you. You're simply the smartest woman on the planet. But don't give me an answer just yet. Not until I fix my credit and can buy you a diamond that's worthy of your hand, okay?
Yes.
Good.
No, I mean, yes.
Wait, you mean yes? As in, yes, yes?
Yes!
Woohoo! You hear that, everybody? She said yes!
Teachable takeaways. The massive number of personal records stolen in various data breaches makes it highly likely your personal data is out there on the dark web for criminals to purchase. Taking action to proactively and reactively protect yourself against identity theft is crucial to mitigating any damage. Turning on monthly credit alerts can help notify you of fraudulent activity involving your personal information.
Okay, so nice. As we are done with the video, let's go ahead and take our quiz. Okay, so we have 4 questions, and as usual, or if you've not joined us before, I will read the questions, and based on the video that we just watched, you would answer the question. Okay, so let's go to question number one. With question number one, there's a true or false statement where, let's go, massive data breaches are not that common. So there's no reason to assume your personal information could have been stolen. True or false?
It's false.
Okay. I don't know why I can select it. Okay. So, all right. Let's go to question number two. What can you do to proactively and reactively protect yourself from identity theft? So turn on monthly credit alerts so that notifies you of fraudulent activity involving your personal information. Put a freeze on your credit to protect you against someone taking out fraudulent loans in your name. Avoid recycling passwords across multiple services. And the last one says all of the above.
All of the above.
Uh, yes. Let me try and refresh the page and let me see that. Okay, let me go to question number three. Also true or false statement. Massive data breaches are not that common. Okay, since I refreshed it, the questions have changed. So there's no reason to assume your personal data could have been stolen. This is false. Okay, let's read question number four. There is no effective way to find out if your credentials have been stolen, not even using dark web monitoring services. True or false? Is there a way where you could find your credentials, or is there a way you could look out and see if your credentials have been stolen anywhere? Is there a way that you could find out and see?
Yes, I think there's a website that you can go. Have I been pawned? You
Yeah.
can input your email address there, and that can pop out and see whether you've been breached.
Yes. So this is there is an effective way. So this is also for right. Okay, I don't know why I can't select it so you could see what we did at the end of the day. Maybe there's a problem from this website. But at the end of the day, we understand that we should not recycle our passwords. We should also make sure we should assume that our password has been compromised and we should put other things in place. We could protect our passwords and also add extra bit of security to that. And I think that will also work. Nice. Jumping straight up to our next session, where we are going to talk about introduction to cloud and a simple demonstration of how we could set up an EC2 instance on AWS. And that is what we are going to do for today. So I just go on and introduce you to cloud. If you don't know what cloud is, or if you've heard cloud networking or cloud computing before, you don't know what it is. This is just a simple explanation of cloud and a simple demo of how to set up an EC2 instance on AWS, that's Amazon Web Services. So let's delve in and let's talk about cloud. Okay. So whenever we talk about cloud, it is just all the things we could do physically, but we are doing it on the internet. That is what it is. Now, at first, we thought mostly cloud services were just about um, you saving things on your cloud. That is what when cloud came, a lot of us were using cloud for. We were just saving things to our cloud, iCloud, especially iPhone users. We were just saving our pictures, our videos to the cloud. Yes, but that is not what cloud computing is all about entirely. Cloud computing is just computing services or what a computer can do over the internet or the thing that you would go and buy. Instead of you going to buy, you would just connect to the internet and use it. What do I mean? Right? Let's say that you are starting up your own company. Definitely you need a laptop. Definitely you might need networking devices. Definitely you might need servers if you are into IT, or if your company you want to protect or you want to do something on the internet, you'd have to go and buy these things. Right. But then cloud computing will give you the benefit to use these things without you buying. You are just renting it out. Somebody somewhere has bought all these things somewhere and it is sharing or it is renting space. So you would go out there and say, I want a server, but I can't buy a server. How can I use it? Because I need a server, but I can't buy this big server. Definitely, a small computer can be a server, right? But you want a server that can do jobs for you. You want server that can host a lot of people, but you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the money, you don't have the personnel to update it or to maintain it, and all the problems that comes with it. But you still want to use a server. And that is where cloud computing comes in play, where you go out there and then you rent a server. So cloud computing is all about all these things. Having a computer on the internet, having a server on the internet, having network devices on the internet. Meanwhile, or instead of you going out there to physically buy them, or to physically, purchase them and bring to your company and set it up and maintain it and update it. All these things might take a lot of time or might even take a lot of capital. You don't have that. You're a startup company, so you want to save as much as possible. Or let's say that you even have these things, you even have these physical things, but you want more. See, there's a situation whereby your demand is growing, your customers are growing, you want more. And you don't also want to go and buy these new servers, these big servers. You want to use something else. And that is where cloud computing comes into play. Now, a lot of things that we are using from our social media accounts to our software, a lot of them depend on cloud technology. You see, you could log into your Gmail account from any phone or any device and you still have your messages, you still have your attachments, all because your Gmail uses cloud computing to in its nature to just function. Let me put it that way. That is how it is. You see, at the end of the day, even social media accounts, whenever you lost your phone or you are changing your phone, as long as you log into your social media account, all the pictures you send to people, all your messages are still there, all because of cloud computing. These things are just there to deliver fast, scalable, and reliable experiences to people. Now, like I said, cloud computing is just computing services over the internet. So whether you're looking for a storage device, whether you want to store information, you could store it on the cloud, or you could save it on the cloud. Whether you want a database to handle credentials, company's data, you could do it on the cloud. Servers on the cloud, networking devices on the cloud, software, AI, and intelligence all on the cloud. And this is what cloud computing is all about. And you can just go and say, I want a server. It is just simple like that. You don't even need anything to set up server on the internet, right? Now, there are companies out there that have bought these particular big machines. They have a data center, let's say it that way, and with a data center, they are renting out. That if you want a server, come to us, come and buy space. And the more you are using it, the more you are charged. So these companies are called the cloud service providers, and we have the top three. So the top three cloud service providers, we have the Amazon Web Service, that's the AWS, Microsoft Azure, and then Google Cloud. These are the top cloud service providers. That's they will say as soon as you or anytime anybody is looking to build something on the cloud, anytime somebody wants to use their cloud services for anything, you go to these three, even though they are others. I think there's Oracle there that is also coming up. We have Cloudflare. We also have, in cloud services and more. But these are the top three cloud providers, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. Now, why will people want to use the cloud at the end of the day? Because it is on-demand self-service. It is simple to set up. You don't have to go to the shop, unlike the physical one where you have to go and order, or you have to look at what you want. Like, okay, I am looking for a 12 gig RAM. I'm looking for 1 terabyte hard drive. I want to buy these things. You could get all these things on the cloud easily without any human interaction. As long as you go to the platform and say, I want this server to have this particular storage, to have this particular RAM, to have this particular this, and that is easy for you to get up. So you could just set up your own cloud instance, right? And then it has broad network access. Now, as long as you can connect to the internet, you can connect to the cloud. You could access your cloud from anywhere, wherever you are sitting, even on the beach, even in school, even in public places. As long as you are connected to the internet, you could access your cloud instance. You could log in and do whatever you want to do on the cloud, right? At the end of the day. And then the third one is resource pooling. There are giant data center owned by AWS, Microsoft, Google, and they are renting these things. So you are using the cloud with somebody else at the end of the day. So it can be, let's say, a giant server in a data center owned by Microsoft. And on that data center, on that server, we are sharing that particular server with 4 or 5 people at the end of the day. But then your data is isolated and my data is isolated. There's no way I'll get to see that somebody's even using this particular server. You don't even have any idea who you are sharing these things with. So with cloud, the idea is that all of you are contributing small part or small or contributing for the cost of that particular, let's say, server, because we are sharing it with 50 people, 60 people, and the cost will be lower as compared to you going out there to buying your own thing, you see. And that is another key benefit of cloud service. Then we also have elasticity, where you could go up and down. What it means is that if you want more things on a cloud, you can just scale up. Let's say that you are very active or your business is very active during the festive season, let's say Christmas. During December, November, you could scale up and say, I want more energy, I want more power, I want more servers, I want more computers on the cloud. And you could get them. Maybe after January, February, where your customers are not that plenty, you could reduce it and say, let me just give me 2 servers or just give me one. And it is easy where you could just scale down and scale up. You could just expand and say, I want more. You could just say, no, I've used what I wanted to do for this month. I don't want to use these things again. Now, these things that you were using, or this power that you were using, would also be allocated to somebody else at the end of the day. So, what you were paying for the last time, once you let it go, somebody is also coming in to take that part, and there will still be part of the system, and then it goes on, so on and so forth. And that is one thing about the cloud. And you also have measured service where it is pay as you go. So you can say you want 1 terabyte hard drive to save your picture or to save company data. Even though you've requested for 1 terabyte, you are charged on what you use at the end of the day. So even if we're able to use 2 gig out of the 1 terabyte you requested for, you'll be charged for the 2 gig. So it is a measured service, the resource that you optimize. At the end of the month, they'll bill you and say, you set this particular instance that you wanted 1 terabyte, but you are only charged for this and that. And it could also measure your cost as you are using them also on these cloud services or the dashboard, let me say it that way. And then are going to talk about cloud service model. So cloud can be grouped into two, or we can differentiate cloud services into two, right? And the one is based on its model, and the other one is based on its deployment. So based on its model, we have three categories under that. So the categories are infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and a platform as a service. As infrastructure as a service, it is just when you have the bare metal. Is it when you have the infrastructure? The cloud service provider is giving you the infrastructure at the end of the day. You would now go ahead and say, I want to put things on this particular infrastructure. It's just like you going out to buy a server. You just bought the server. A cloud service provider has just given you the server. This is a Linux server. Whatever you do on it, it is not their business. It is you, the consumer or the customer. Whatever you want to do with this particular physical infrastructure, that is your thing. So you would go ahead and put things on it. You would go ahead and put your software, put your data, put whatever you want to set up on this particular infrastructure because you have rented it out and you don't have to care about maintenance of this particular physical thing that you are renting. All these things will be managed by the cloud service provider. So a typical example is an Amazon EC2, and Microsoft Azure also have other virtual machines that you can use as infrastructure as service. Okay. Then platform as a service. Platform as a service is where the cloud service providers are giving you things that you could run your own platform or your own software or your own instances, right? The idea of platform as a service is that you have the underlying infrastructure, just like the infrastructure as a service, but then the cloud service providers can even go a step ahead of providing you things you need to build your platform. So it's just like you have a choice. We've given you everything you need. Now you go ahead and develop your own thing. So IDs, APIs, all the things that you need to build your own platform, they are giving it to you. It is your choice. That is platform as a service. So you, the developer, you get to build and test and deploy everything without managing the underlying infrastructure. So you have the particular infrastructure, and you also have the things that you can use to build your own platform at the end of the day. That is platform as a service. That is what you can use cloud for. So let's say that you as a business, you want to launch your own application. And the best thing that you could do is maybe platform as a service where you would go and say you want this. So you'll be giving all the things that you need to build your own software. So you'll be giving the underlying infrastructure. If you want a database server, they'll be giving it to you. If you want a place to host your website, so let's say if it's a web app, a web server, all these things will be given to you. And then you would now deploy your things, test it out, and see if it works without you even worrying about what powers your website or what powers your web app at the end of the day. That is platform as a service. And then we go ahead and talk about software as a service. This is a ready-made software that you can access it over the internet. A lot of even cybersecurity tools function as software as a service. Wireless, Nexus, Zoom, and these normal apps that we use, all these things are software as a service. It is ready made. If you're a business and you want to use that, you just pay and then use it and you set it up on your domain or on your network. So if as a company you want to use Teams like this, you go ahead and you would pay for Teams. I think Teams is all part of the Microsoft 365 uh, bundle. Let me say it that way. So you pay for that and then you will use the team that's ready made. You, the company, don't care about the software. You just be there and then you receive an update that updates your things. It is not your job to care about maintenance of things, to care about the development of things. At the end of the day, you are only using things in communication, just like you are doing for this particular session. You don't know the underlying infrastructure, the things, you don't know how teams update the system or how they find vulnerabilities in their system or how they were doing the coding and everything. All that we care about is we have things that we are using and we pay for. And the only thing that we care is the data that we feed into team that becomes our responsibility. But the application itself is not our responsibility at the end of the day. And this is software as a service, a ready-made software. You just pay and you're using that software to do whatever you want to do at the end of the day. That is, so these are the three types of cloud services based on its models or based on its service models. And then we are looking at types of clouds based on its deployment models. And with the deployment models, we are looking at the public cloud, where that is what comes in our head whenever we talk about cloud. Public clouds are just clouds that anybody can just come and buy and rent or use, something like that. It's shared among multiple organizations, multiple people, cost effective, scalable. All the three major service providers are public cloud systems. So AWS, I can go and use AWS. You can also use Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. All these things are public cloud. And then we have private cloud where a company can build their own data center that will be used for the internal things or internal services of the company. So let's say that a company like maybe Softafrique, we would want our own cloud services. So we'll build our own data center and then we connect it to Softafrique systems across all the world, around the world. So every Softafrique branch will be using our cloud services, and that is private cloud, made exclusively for or owned by one organization at the end of the day. And then we have hybrid, where an organization can combine both public and private cloud. So you have your own company-owned data center for cloud services, but then you also use AWS, you also use Azure, you also use Google Cloud. That can be considered as hybrid cloud, where you could move data between the public ones and either your private ones or your community ones. So with the community ones, we are looking at this community cloud. It is a type of cloud deployment model where different people, so let's say that a different organization can be a community, so 3 or 4 organizations in an area or in a place can then decide to build a cloud service or can then decide to build a data center where if you're part of the organizations under this community, you get to use these clouds. So let's say if we have 4 or 5 organizations in this area, we could come together, build a data center, and all the users or all the workers of this particular or under this particular community, that's the community of organizations, we would have our own personal cloud services. It's mostly used by government agencies, universities, research institutions. So all universities under this particular geographical area might have their own data center where they keep research works, the articles and everything. If you want to have access to research work, it is easier for you or it is easier for any student under these universities in this particular area. And these are the type of cloud that we have. So benefits. Why is cloud important? Why do people use a cloud? Because it is cost effective. Instead of you to go out there and buy physical things, you are only renting them. You don't do maintenance. You don't care about what happens to the physical things at the end of the day. You are only renting and you only pay for what you use at the end of the day. And scalability, as in you could increase whatever you want, the resource that you want. It is easy for you to increase and say, I want more. If you were using 8 gig RAM and say, I want to use 64 gig RAM, you could just scale up and use it at the end of the day. And it is accessible and you could access it from anywhere. You could access these from anywhere. Most of the time, people also use the cloud when they want to launch applications across the world so that their customers at different parts of the world will have it easy connecting to them because data centers of AWS or Google Cloud are scattered across the world. So they'll put their applications on these cloud services at this area so that people can just connect to it easily. And that is one thing about cloud. And then automatic updates. You don't care about updates. The cloud service provider handles these updates and maintenance. And I think the cloud service provider have a lot to do. So they would make sure that these things become a priority for them. But you are paying them or you are paying them for them to do these things. You are renting. So I think they should be of the best behavior because there are other competing forces. It is a battle between AWS and Microsoft Azure. People want to move to Azure, people want to move to AWS. So you have to make people stick by you. You have to do something to attract new customers at the end of the day. So updates becomes a priority, maintenance becomes a priority for these cloud service providers at the end of the day. And then it is reliable because you just put it out there. Whenever you are just doing backup, you are just putting it on the cloud. So whenever you need it, whenever you need this particular backup, it is easy for you to just pull it out as long as you have data. It's easy for you to just do whatever you want to work, whatever you want to at the end of the day. And then if you are recovering from the cloud, as long as you have internet, that becomes a challenge about cloud service because if you don't have strong internet, that might be an issue. But then if you have internet and it is fast, whenever you are recovering system, so you have backup on the cloud. So you have your pictures, you want to retrieve your pictures back because your personal computers got hacked and you have to wipe everything at the end of the day. When you are taking all these pictures back to your computer, it is easy, it is faster as long as your internet speed is there. You could just do it just like that. And these are benefits of the cloud. So let's just go into a simple demonstration of an EC2 instance. Now, this is the AWS management console for Amazon Web Services. So Amazon Web Service is one of the top leading cloud service providers. And then if you want to build a server, so an EC2 instance is just like a server on the internet. So you just go into their website and register. You just register and say you want to use the cloud. You want to use AWS. They'll take your details. They'll make sure you're not a robot. They'll do all the checks that they need to do. But you have to also add a valid payment system. So at the end of the day, you have to be charged by that. So you have to bring an accurate system or a payment method that in case you are charged for this particular EC2 instance, to be able to pay. Right. So this is how to simply create an EC2 instance here. And this is the homepage of AWS when you register for the first time. All these things are still there. So let's just build a simple EC2 instance using a demo by AWS. I'll skip the demo and I'll explain a few things about that. So let's start the activity. All right. So EC2 is just a server on the internet or just a computer on the internet that you can just access and use it for whatever you want. But at the end of the day, you have to create the name of your web server on Amazon. So how do you want to name this particular web server? I want to name it as maybe my my web, let's say my web app server. Right. And then what do you want or what operating system do you want to run on this particular server that is here? You want to use Amazon Linux, Mac, Ubuntu, Windows, Red Hat is also a Linux distro. This SUSE is also a Linux distro. Debian is also a Linux distro. So you could decide to choose what operating system you would want. You could search and see if your operating system is not here or what you are looking for is not here. You could just select it and then you are good to go. So if it's Ubuntu that you want, you must select Ubuntu and then you would scroll down to do other things, right? Then you are looking at the instance type, right? You are looking at what type of Ubuntu are you looking for, and all these things will come with prices per hour. So you could go in and configure and change that particular operating system that you are using with regards to, its instance type and so on and so forth. And about the processing speed and the power, because this is a free tie demonstration, I am only eligible to use what it will be giving to you, right? So at the end of the day, this is just simple instance that we are just deploying, right? And then we will look at key pairs. So these keys are mostly what you will use to log into the server from anywhere, mostly through SSH, right? So these key pairs are just simple asymmetric key encryption, where you have a private and you have a public key. So as soon as you do create a new key pair, they will say choose RSA or choose this form of encryption. Now, RSA is one of the best asymmetric encryption you could use. So once you select RSA, you are given two pair of keys. One pair is installed on a particular instance that you are setting up. Another pair, you will save it on your computer. And the moment you select a name and you select the type of file, this particular key will be installed or downloaded and you will save it on your computer. And that is just how it is, right? And then network settings. You see, you could customize a few things. Do you want a public IP address? Yes, I want a public IP address so that people can connect to this particular server or this particular EC2 instance from the public, right? Then security groups are like firewall settings or how you want to manage the security of this particular EC2 instance. Let me say it that way and allow SSH traffic, meaning that you could connect to this particular EC2 instance via SSH. That is mostly how we connect to, a web server or even servers as a whole. SSH is a way to connect to these particular servers and you connect to a secure tunnel. So that's why it's called secure shell. And you need to provide the key or a password for computers or for normal PCs. You just need a password. For servers, you need a key most of the time to connect via SSH. So you select that. Yes, do you want SSH traffic? Yes. Anywhere means that you want anybody to connect. So once you see 0.0.0, it means that you want any IP address. As long as they know the key, they can connect anywhere. So anybody can connect. You could also restrict it to customize and see, I only want this particular IP to connect, meaning that once you are connecting to this particular EC2 instance, if it's not this particular IP address, they will not allow you at the end of the day. When you are setting up these things for the first time, you don't need to do this. You have to set this up and then you come in and restrict these things. So if you do customize, you are just adding IPs that you want to only connect this particular EC2 instance at the end of the day and allow HTTP traffic from the internet. If you are setting this up as a web server, then you want to allow these things so that people can connect to this particular web server, or people, whatever you host on this particular web server, people can connect via HTTPS. So you can only select HTTPS and leave HTTP at the end of the day, so on and so forth. Or you could say you want either, or you want both HTTP traffic and HTTPS traffic. The S means secure. So with HTTPS, it is an encrypted connection. With HTTP, it's not an encrypted connection. That's the difference between the two at the end of the day. I will not launch this instance, but I'm just doing a demo for you, right? And then this is where you could configure the storage and the size and how you want this server to be powerful at the end of the day. So the more you increase it, and the more you use it, the more you are paid for at the end of the day. So even if I choose maybe 20 gig, or let's say 15 gig, and I only use 2 gig, I'll be charged for the 2 gig at the end of the day. But this is just how you can go ahead and set up the instance. The moment you are done, you click launch instance, and that is just how simple you can go in and launch this particular EC2 instance on AWS. So the first thing you need is a name. The next thing you need is the operating system. And then you go in and create a key pair that will use to log into this particular instance. And then you set up network settings. You make sure that anybody can connect, or you could customize people who could connect to this particular web server, and then the storage of the web server. And then you are good to go. You launch this particular instance. The moment you launch this particular instance, this instance will boot up and will set up for you. It will take you some time. So they will send you an email that your instance is ready to connect, and you could go in and then you could connect your instance at the end of the day. So this is how to simply create an instance, and I've created some already, but I've stopped them because the more you use it, the more you are paid for at the end of the day. So this is just a simple thing that you could go in, or you could create a simple web server. So if you want to use a server, you can buy a server, but you want to use this particular server to do something, you could go and create an AWS account, or you could even go to Microsoft Azure to create a simple account, and then you would launch this particular server from there. And then whatever that you can do on a physical server, you could do the same thing here. And even with this one, you could scale up and scale down and say you want more processing power, you want more RAM, you want more storage, as compared to the physical server, where if you want more of these things, you have to go and buy new things, or you have to buy a new server at the end of the day. And this is just how to set up a simple EC2 instance. And then we can talk about some challenges with cloud computing. So security and privacy risk. Now, cloud computing is actually reliable in terms of security. The problem only comes with people who manage it. So it can be vulnerable based on how you set it up yourself. It's just like any other computer, you see, and any computer that connects or that have access to the internet, or that is internet facing, can suffer any of the things that it can. But the underlying physical things are secured for you. So if you are setting up an instance like this, and whatever you do, just like do it recklessly on a normal computer, it would affect you at the end of the day. So if you use a weak password, let's say if I am setting up my EC2 instance, my Amazon Web Service account, if I use a weak password, somebody could brute force my account and get access to my console and do whatever they want to do at the end of the day. That is why when you are setting your account up, Amazon would force you to do an MFA. So your email will be there, and then you either use an app or a passkey so that you protect your account at the end of the day. And cloud services also use APIs to connect to other systems and other applications. So if you are setting this thing up and you are configuring API, this API should be encrypted. This API if it lacks authentication, then people could just connect to this particular API and access these things, and that becomes an issue. Now, cloud computing has an issue with internet connectivity. But if your internet is not that strong, then it could cause whatever you are doing. It could cause the connectivity to your cloud instance to have an issue because you need access, you need internet. It is just computing on the internet. So if your internet is not strong, then you'll be facing a lot of issues. I don't want to say anything to Telecel users, but you know Telecel, yes, can Telecel sometimes. So you know if you're using cloud services and you're also using Telecel, then good luck at the end of the day. And also, when you are moving data from one cloud service provider to another, it becomes a whole lot of issue because Amazon has its own systems, its own web app, and how they do their thing. Microsoft also has their own thing. Microsoft also have their own way of keeping data, their own instances. So Amazon infrastructure as a service is different from AWS infrastructure as a service, even though the underlying infrastructure is the same, but the services and the apps and the names and how to set it up are different. So if you are moving data from one instance to another instance, let's say two different cloud service providers, it becomes an issue. So now there's a growing field where people are there to facilitate this particular transfer. And that's also something that you could look in and exploit. There's a niche market where consultants are helping companies move from one service provider to another service provider at the end of the day. And then the last challenge becomes limited control, where you would rely on the providers for maintenance and performance at the end of the day, as compared to if you buy your own thing, you know that the maintenance and performance of these servers are in your hands. So you get to do whatever you want with them. You get to maintain as best as you want. If you are security conscious, you get to review, you get to troubleshoot and do everything at the end of the day. But with cloud service, you have to rely on AWS or Microsoft or Google to maintain these things for you. And that becomes a little challenge with cloud computing. But at the end of the day, cloud computing is the future of technology where a lot of organizations are moving to the cloud. A lot of organizations are setting up platforms, they are setting up applications and hosting them on cloud service providers. Now, there's also even a market where there is AI on the cloud, where they are training cloud services to use AI to build AI agents all on the cloud. So the cloud is becoming a growing field where you could also tap in and then learn more at the end of the day. So this is where we are ending this particular demo and our introduction to the cloud. Any questions before we leave here? Our time is up. So I'll take one or two questions. If there are not any, then we'll leave this particular session and then we'll return next week, Wednesday. Okay, so if there are no questions, then we'll end today's session here. And we'll continue next week, Wednesday. So thank you guys for joining and spending your time with us. I bet you've learned a thing or two of this particular demo, even the video that we just watched. Keep your passwords protected and don't reuse your passwords across different platforms. At the end of the day, you've also learned what cloud is, the types of cloud, and an easy way to set up an EC2 instance on AWS at the end of the day. So thank you guys once again, and I'll meet you guys next week. Same time, same link. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, future cybersecurity pro, ready to defend the digital realm? Cybercrime is escalating and companies need skilled cybersecurity experts. Join Softafrique Group, a top IT company, and kickstart your career with our 16-week online cybersecurity course. Learn from the best. Our course, crafted by expert cybersecurity professionals, gives you hands-on skills with cutting-edge tools like Wireshark, Metasploit, Nmap, Burp Suite, and more. No prior experience? No problem. We guide you every step of the way. Gain real-world experience with your own virtual computer. Practice in a safe, simulated environment, tackling cyber threats, securing networks, and mastering ethical hacking techniques. We don't just teach you skills, we prepare you for success. Our team helps you craft a standout resume and ace your interviews, ensuring you land your dream job in cybersecurity. Don't wait for cyber threats to strike. Become the solution. Enroll in Softafrique Group's 16-week cybersecurity course today and start your journey to a high-paying career. Visit portal.softafrique.net to sign up now. Call for the USA +15029667638